Captain Hyun-woo Kim stood in the main meeting room of Harmony Point Space Station. The room was large and cold, with metal walls that reflected the bright lights above. Through the big windows, he could see stars scattered across the black space, like tiny diamonds. Today was an important day. The Krathan Empire wanted to meet with humans for the first time. Hyun-woo had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. He knew how to read danger in people's faces and voices. Right now, he felt that familiar tension in his shoulders. The Krathan were not coming here to make friends. They were coming to see if humans were a threat. Dr. So-Young Park stood beside him, checking her datapad one more time. She was Earth's best expert on alien species. Her job was to help both sides understand each other. Behind them, Private Ji-ho Lee waited by the door. The young soldier looked nervous. This was his first time meeting aliens. "They will try to scare us," Hyun-woo told his team quietly. "The Krathan are warriors. They think strength is the most important thing. Do not let them see fear." So-Young nodded. "I have read their files. They have never lost a war. Their soldiers are bigger and stronger than humans. They also have war beasts that fight with them." "War beasts?" Ji-ho asked, his voice tight. "Animals they have changed with science," So-Young explained. "The beasts become part of their army. Each warrior has one beast that stays with them for life." The door opened with a loud hiss. 3 tall figures walked into the room. The Krathan looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green with thick scales that looked like armor. Their eyes were yellow and cold. Sharp teeth showed when they opened their mouths. The largest Krathan stepped forward. His scales were darker than the others, and he wore metal bands around his arms that looked like weapons. "I am Commander Veltar of the Krathan Empire. We come to speak with the humans." Hyun-woo bowed his head slightly. "Welcome to Harmony Point. I am Captain Kim. This is Dr. Park and Private Lee." Behind Veltar, another Krathan warrior watched, everything with sharp eyes. This was War Prime Nixval, Veltar's second-in-command. The third alien was smaller and carried strange tools. So-Young guessed he was their scientist. "We have heard stories about your species," Veltar said. His voice was deep and rough. "They say humans come from a death world. They say you are dangerous fighters." "Earth can be a hard place to live," Hyun-woo replied calmly. "But we have learned to work together to survive." Nixval made a sound that might have been laughing. "Work together? We have seen your war records. Humans fight each other as much as they fight others." "That is true," So-Young said. "But we also know how to make peace. We learn from our mistakes." The Krathan warriors looked at each other. They seemed surprised that the humans admitted to fighting among themselves. Veltar walked around the room, looking at everything. His movements were smooth and quick, like a predator studying its prey. "Show us your weapons," Veltar demanded. "We want to see what makes Deathworld fighters so special." Hyun-woo shook his head. "We did not bring weapons to this meeting. This is a place for talking, not fighting." "No weapons?" Nixval's eyes grew wide. "How do you protect yourselves?" "We protect ourselves in other ways," So-Young said. "Would you like to see?" The Krathan warriors moved closer together. They thought the humans might have hidden weapons or some kind of trap. Their scientist pulled out a scanning device and pointed it at the humans. "We detect no energy weapons," the scientist reported. "No plasma rifles, no particle beams, no explosive devices." "What about your war beasts?" Veltar asked. Where are the creatures that fight with you? So Young smiled. We do have companions that help us, but they are not war beasts like yours. The Krathan looked confused. Through the windows, they could see the Krathan ship floating near the station. On the ship were their own war beasts, huge lizard creatures with metal claws and armor plates grafted onto their bodies. Each beast was trained to kill without question. If they are not for war, what are they for? Nixaval asked. Many things, So Young said. They help us explore new places. They warn us of danger. They find people who are lost. Some of them help people who are hurt or scared. This sounds like weakness, Veltar said. Warriors do not need help from animals unless those animals are weapons. Jiho stepped forward. Sir, with respect, you do not understand. Our companions are not weapons. They are family. The word family made all three Krathan step back. In their culture, family meant blood relatives who fought together. The idea that humans would call animals family was very strange to them. You cannot be serious, Nixaval said. Animals are tools or food. They are not family. Would you like to meet one of our companions? So Young asked. I can call mine here. The Krathan warriors looked at each other again. They were curious, but also worried. If humans called their war beasts family and companions, these creatures might be more dangerous than normal animals. Call your beast, Veltar said. We will see what Deathworld creatures look like. So Young pulled out a small communication device. She pressed a button and spoke into it. Max, come to meeting room 7, slowly. The Krathan prepared themselves for battle. They expected to see a monster with huge teeth and claws. They expected something that looked like it could tear apart metal with its bare hands. Instead, they heard a sound they did not recognize. It was a soft, tapping noise, like small feet walking on the metal floor. The sound got louder as it came, closer to the room. What kind of war beast makes that sound? Nixaval whispered to Veltar. The sound stopped right outside the door. Everyone in the room held their breath. The Krathan warriors tensed their muscles, ready to fight. The humans stood calmly waiting. The door opened slowly. A dog walked into the room. The Krathan warriors stared in complete silence. This was not what they expected. The creature was not large or scary. It had brown and black fur that looked soft and clean. Its ears stood up straight, and its tail moved back and forth in a friendly way. The dog looked around the room with bright, intelligent eyes. War Prime Nixval blinked several times. This is your war beast? This is Max, Dr. So Young Park said with a smile. He is my companion. Max walked over to So Young and sat down beside her. He was well-trained and calm. The dog looked at the Krathan visitors with interest but no fear. His tongue hung out slightly, and he panted quietly. Commander Veltar leaned forward to get a better look. It has no armor, no weapons, no metal parts. He sounded confused and a little angry. Are you making fun of us? No, Captain Hyunwoo Kim said. Max is exactly what we told you. He is So Young's companion. The Krathan scientist, Thekmore, pulled out his scanner again. He pointed it at Max and studied the readings. The creature is approximately 65 pounds. It has normal bone density for its size. I see no genetic modifications for combat. Nixaval started to laugh. It was not a nice sound. This small, furry thing is what humans call a companion. It looks like something we would eat for lunch. Private. Jiho Lee's face got red. Max is not food. He is a friend. Friend? Veltar repeated the word like it tasted bad. Warriors do not have friends among animals. Animals serve or they die. So Young reached down and gently touched Max's head. The dog looked up at her with love in his eyes. Max has been with me for 8 years. He has saved my life more times than I can count. How? Nixval demanded. How can this weak creature save anyone? He is not weak, So Young said. He is different from your war beasts, but he is not weak. She looked at Max and said, Sit. The dog immediately sat down straight and tall. Stay, she said, and Max did not move even when she walked across the room. Come, she called, and Max trotted over to her side. The Krathan watched this with growing confusion. Their war beasts obeyed orders too, but only because they were programmed and controlled by machines in their brains. This creature seemed to obey because it wanted to. You control it with your voice? Thekmore asked. Not control, So Young corrected. We communicate. Max understands what I want, and he chooses to help me. Chooses? Veltar's voice got very quiet. This idea was dangerous, to him. In Krathan society, no one chose anything. Everyone had a place and a job, and they did it because they had to. Dayun Choi, a station worker, walked past the open door and stopped. She saw Max and smiled. Hi, Max, she called out. The dog's tail wagged faster, and he looked happy to see her. The creature knows other humans? Veltar asked. Max is friendly, Jiho explained. He likes most people. Children especially love him. Children? Nixval's eyes went wide. You let this predator near your young. Max would never hurt a child, So Young said. He protects them. All dogs do. The Krathan could not understand this. Their war beasts had to be kept away from young Krathan because the beasts might eat them by accident. The idea of an animal that protected children instead of eating them was very strange. Sub-Commander Krathan, the youngest Krathan in the group, had been watching quietly. He was more curious than the others. How long do these companions live? He asked. Dogs usually live 12 to 15 years, So Young answered. Max is almost 12 now. 12 years? Krathan looked shocked. You have kept the same animal for 12 years? Of course, So Young said. He is family. The word family made the Krathan uncomfortable again. Veltar tried to change the subject. What does this creature do that is useful? Does it carry equipment? Does it send messages? Max helps me with my research, So Young explained. He can find things I cannot find. He can smell dangers that I cannot smell. He warns me when storms are coming, or when the ground is not safe to walk on. And he does this without machines in his head? Thekmore asked. Dogs have very good noses and ears, Jiho said. They can hear and smell things humans cannot, but they choose to help us with these gifts. Nixval shook his head. This is impossible. No animal helps others without being forced. Max helps because he loves So Young, Hyun-woo said simply. The word love hit the Krathan like a physical blow. Love was not something their species understood very well. They had loyalty and duty and fear, but love was not part of their culture. Love is not real, Veltar said, but his voice was not as strong as before. There is only power and weakness. Max seemed to sense the tension in the room. He stood up and moved closer to So Young, placing himself between her and the Krathan warriors. He was not aggressive, but he was alert and ready to protect her if needed. Look at him, Krathan whispered. He is protecting her without being told to. The Krathan war beasts they knew would only protect their handlers if they were programmed to do so. This dog was making his own choice to stand guard. Thekmore ran his scanner over Max again. This time he looked more carefully at the results. "Wait," he said slowly. "These readings are strange." "What do you mean?" Veltar demanded. "The creature's muscle density is higher than I first thought. Its teeth are very sharp. Its jaw strength could easily break bones." Thekmore looked up from his scanner with fear in his eyes. This animal could kill most sentient beings with ease. The room became very quiet. The Krathan warriors realized they had been standing close to a creature that could tear their throats out, and they had not even been afraid. "But he chooses not to," So Young said softly. "Max could hurt people, but he never would. That is what makes him special." Nixaval stared at Max with new respect and fear. "How many of these creatures do humans have? Dogs? On Earth?" So Young thought for a moment. "About 400 million. The color drained from the Krathan faces. 400 million creatures that could kill, but chose not to. 400 million animals that served humans out of love instead of fear." 400 million, Veltar repeated slowly. "And that is just dogs," Jiho added helpfully. "We also have cats, horses, birds, and many other companion animals." Krathan sat down heavily in a chair. The implications of what he was hearing were too big to understand all at once. Max wagged his tail and looked around the room. He had no idea that he had just changed how an entire alien species thought about humans. To him, this was just another day with his beloved human. The door opened again, and Ambassador Heiwan Shin walked into the meeting room. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Behind her came Min-Ho Yoon, the security chief for Harmony Point Station. Both humans looked calm and relaxed, which made the Krathan warriors even more nervous. "I apologize for being late," Ambassador Shin said with a polite bow. "I hope the introductions are going well." Commander Veltar pointed at Max, who was still sitting quietly beside Dr. So Young Park. "Your people have been showing us their war beast." Ambassador Shin looked confused for a moment, then smiled. "Oh, you mean Max. He is lovely, is he not? I have a dog very much like him back on Earth. Her name is Luna." "You have one too?" War Prime Nixval asked. His voice was getting higher with stress. "Most humans have companion animals," Min-Ho said. "My family has 2 dogs and 3 cats. Sub-Commander." Krathan made a strangled sound. "How many humans are there?" "On Earth? About 12 billion, Ambassador Shin answered. "Why do you ask?" The Krathan warriors looked at each other with growing horror. 12 billion humans, and most of them had deadly creatures living in their homes by choice. Bioanalyst Thekmore was still studying his readings from Max. "Ambassador, may I ask you some questions about these companion animals?" "Of course," she replied. "How long have humans lived with these creatures?" Ambassador Shin thought for a moment. "Dogs have been with humans for over 30,000 years. Cats for about 10,000 years. We also work with horses, dolphins, elephants, and many others." 30,000 years? Veltar's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes," she continued. "Dogs and humans grew up together. We helped each other survive when both our species were young. They taught us how to hunt better, and we taught them how to live safely with humans." "You learned from them?" Nixaval could not believe what he was hearing. "Oh yes," Min-Ho said. Dogs are much better at tracking than humans. They can smell things we cannot smell and hear things we cannot hear. Cats are excellent at catching small pests. Horses let us travel faster and carry heavy things. But you could have just taken these abilities by force. Techmore pointed out. You could have captured the animals and made them work for you. Captain. Hyun-Woo Kim shook his head. That does not work very well. Animals that are forced to work will run away or fight back when they can. Animals that choose to work with you will give everything they have to help you. Choose again, Veltar muttered. The concept of choice was giving him a headache. Ambassador. Shin knelt down and held out her hand to Max. The dog walked over to her and let her pet his head. Max does not have to stay with So Young. He could run away any time he wants. But he stays because he loves her and she loves him. This love you speak of, Krathan said carefully. What does it mean? Love means you care about someone more than you care about yourself, So Young explained. It means you want to protect them and make them happy, even if it costs you something. And the animals feel this too? Techmore asked. Yes, Minho said. Dogs especially. They will die to protect their human families. There are millions of stories of dogs saving humans from fires, floods, attacks, and accidents. The room was quiet for a long moment. The Krathan were trying to understand a concept that did not exist in their culture. The idea that someone would die for another person without being ordered to was impossible for them to grasp. Show us, Veltar demanded suddenly. Show us this love. So Young looked confused. How do you want me to show you? Make the creature do something dangerous. Order it to risk its life. I would never do that, So Young said firmly. I would never ask Max to do something that might hurt him. Why not? Nixval asked. If it is just an animal, why not use it? Because I love him, So Young said simply. You do not hurt the ones you love. Ambassador Shin stood up slowly. Commander Veltar, I think there is something you need to understand about humans and our companions. We do not see them as tools or weapons. We see them as family members. You keep saying family, Veltar said. But they are not your blood. Relatives. Family is not just about blood, Minho explained. Family is about choice and love and taking care of each other. Max is part of So Young's family because they choose to be together. Techmore was looking at his scanner readings again. There is something else, he said quietly. The chemical signatures I am detecting from both the human and the dog. They are releasing bonding hormones when they interact. What does that mean? Krathan asked. It means their bodies are designed to create emotional connections with other species, Techmore explained. This is not learned behavior, this is evolution. The implications of this hit the Krathan like a physical blow. Humans had evolved to form emotional bonds with other species. They were naturally designed to make friends with potential enemies. How many species have you done this with? Veltar asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. On Earth, we have domestic relationships with hundreds of species, Ambassador Shin said. Since we started traveling in space, we have made friends with several alien species too. Friends with aliens? Nixval looked sick. The Centaurians love to race our horses, Minho said with a grin. The vegan traders always ask to see pictures of our cats. The Altair scientists want to study how we train dolphins. This is madness, Veltar said, but his voice was weak. Captain Kim stepped forward. Commander, with respect, you asked to meet with humans because you heard we were good fighters. You wanted to know if we were a threat to your empire. Yes, Veltar admitted. Now you know the truth, Kim continued. We are not good fighters because we are violent or aggressive. We are good fighters because we never fight alone. We have allies everywhere we go. Even our enemies become our friends given enough time, Ambassador Shin added. It is what we do. Max yawned and lay down on the floor. To him, this was just a normal day. He did not know that his simple presence had revealed the most dangerous thing about humanity to a warrior race that had never known defeat. The Krathan warriors stood in silence, realizing that they had not come to meet a potential enemy. They had come to meet something much more dangerous than that. They had come to meet a species that could turn enemies into family, and they had no idea how to fight against love. The space station shook suddenly. Red lights flashed on the walls and a loud alarm began to sound. Everyone in the room grabbed onto chairs and tables to keep from falling down. Emergency in Section C, a voice said over the station's speakers. Life support failure in levels 12 through 15. Multiple beings trapped. Max jumped to his feet immediately. His ears stood straight up, and he looked toward the door with intense focus. Dr. So-Young Park had never seen him act like this. Before, during a simple emergency drill. That is not a drill, Security Chief Min-Ho Yoon said, checking his communication device. We have a real emergency. Chief In-Soo Kang's voice crackled over the speakers again. All emergency teams to Section C. We have structural damage and possible casualties. The Krathan warriors looked around nervously. They were not sure what to do during a human emergency. Their own ships had different procedures for disasters. Max started walking toward the door, then stopped and looked back at So-Young. He whined softly, a sound that clearly meant, "We need to go help." Max senses something, So-Young said. He always knows when people are in trouble. How can he know that? War Prime Nixval asked. The emergency just happened. Dogs can hear things we cannot hear, Private Ji-Ho Lee explained. They can smell fear and pain from very far away. Ambassador Haewon Shin was already moving toward the door. I should go help coordinate the rescue efforts. We will come too, Commander Veltar said. The Krathan warriors were curious to see how humans handled emergencies. So-Young clipped a leash to Max's collar, not to control him, but to keep them connected in the crowded emergency corridors. The group left the meeting room and headed toward Section C. As they walked through the station, Max became more and more excited. He pulled gently on his leash, wanting to go faster. His nose was working constantly, sniffing the air for information that only he could detect. He knows exactly where to go, Subcommander Krathan observed. He is leading us. Max has been trained for search and rescue, So-Young explained. He can find people who are lost or trapped. They reached Section C and saw the damage. A large piece of machinery had exploded, causing part of the ceiling to collapse. Emergency workers were everywhere, trying to figure out where the trapped people might be. Chief Kang was standing near the damaged area, talking to his team. We think there are 3 Krathan civilians somewhere in the collapsed section, but our scanners cannot get through all this metal debris. Max immediately started pulling toward the wreckage. He was not scared of the twisted metal and sparking wires. He was focused on something the humans could not sense. Let him go, So-Young said, unclipping the leash. Max, find them. The dog disappeared into the wreckage like he had done this 1,000 times before. The human rescue workers followed him, trusting his instincts completely. They are following an animal into danger, bioanalyst Techmore said with amazement. They trust him, Captain Hyun-Woo Kim replied. Max has never been wrong about finding people. The Krathan warriors watched as Max navigated through spaces that were barely big enough for him to fit through. He moved with purpose and intelligence, choosing the safest path through the dangerous debris. From deep in the wreckage, they heard Max bark 3 times. It was a specific signal that So Young recognized immediately. "He found them," she said, and ran into the debris after her dog. The human rescue team moved with incredible efficiency. They had worked with search dogs before and knew exactly what to do. They followed Max's path and began carefully removing debris from the area where he had barked. Strike leader Mordak, one of the Krathan warriors who had come to watch, was amazed by what he saw. The human is not giving the animal orders. She is following its lead. "Max knows better than any of us where it is safe to dig," Minho explained. So Young trusts his judgment completely. Within minutes, they could hear voices from under the debris. 3 Krathan civilians had been trapped when the ceiling fell, but they were alive. Max had found them by scent alone, through tons of twisted metal. The rescue took 2 hours. The human and dog team worked together without speaking. So Young understood what Max needed her to do just by watching his body language. Max knew exactly where to dig and where not to dig to avoid causing more collapses. When the first trapped Krathan was pulled free, he was badly hurt, but alive. The second one was unconscious but breathing. The third one was scared, but not injured. Max had positioned himself between the rescue workers and the most dangerous parts of the wreckage. Every time a piece of metal shifted or a wire sparked, he would bark a warning and everyone would move to safety. "The animal is protecting them," Mordak whispered to his companions. "It is making tactical decisions to keep the humans safe." The most shocking moment came when a large piece of debris started to fall towards So Young. Max threw himself between her and the falling metal, ready to take the impact to protect her. At the last second, another rescue worker pulled them both to safety. "He was going to die for her," Nixaval said, his voice filled with awe and terror. "That is what love means," Ambassador Shin said quietly. "Max would give his life to save So Young, and she would do the same for him." When the rescue was finished, Max was tired and dirty, but his tail was wagging. He had done his job and everyone was safe. So Young hugged him tightly, not caring that he was covered in dust and debris. Chief Kang came over to thank them. "We could not have saved those people without Max. Our technology could not penetrate the wreckage, but his nose could." The rescued Krathan civilians were taken to the medical bay. As they were carried past the group, one of them looked at Max and said something in the Krathan language. "What did he say?" So Young asked. Krathan translated. "He said, 'Thank you, little guardian.'" The Krathan warriors stood in stunned silence. They had just watched a creature that could have easily lived a safe, comfortable life choose to risk everything to save strangers. And the humans had trusted that creature with their own lives. "This is why you win," Veltar said finally. "This is why humans always win. You do not fight alone. You fight with creatures who love you enough to die for you." Max looked up at the commander and wagged his tail, having no idea that he had just taught an entire warrior race the true meaning of strength. Hours later, the emergency was over, and the station was safe again. The Krathan warriors sat in the quiet meeting room, but they were not the same beings who had entered that morning. Everything they thought they knew about power and strength had changed. Elder Taehyun-ju arrived on the next transport ship. He was a very old man with white hair and wise eyes. He had been studying alien cultures for over 50 years. Ambassador Haewon Shin had called him because she knew the Krathan needed to understand something important about humans. "Welcome, Elder," Captain Yunwoo Kim said with deep respect. "Thank you for coming." Max was sleeping on the floor next to Dr. So-Young Park's chair. The rescue work had tired him out, but he looked content. His fur was clean again, and he seemed to be having pleasant dreams. "I hear you have been teaching our new friends about human companions," Elder Ju said with a gentle smile. Commander Veltar looked at the old man with confusion. "We do not understand your species. We came here to learn about human military strength. Instead, we have seen something that makes no sense to us." "What makes no sense?" Elder Ju asked. "You have creatures that could kill you, but they choose to protect you instead. You trust them with your lives. You call them family." War Prime Nixval shook his head. "How is this possible?" Elder Ju sat down slowly. His old bones were tired from the long journey. "Tell me, Commander, how does your species survive?" "Through strength," Veltar answered immediately. "The strong rule and the weak obey. This is the natural order." "I see," Elder Ju nodded. "And how well has this worked for you?" "We have never lost a war," Nixval said proudly. "But you have never made a true ally either," Elder Ju pointed out. "Every species fears you or hates you. You rule through terror, not loyalty." The Krathan warriors could not argue with this. It was true that other species only worked with them because they were afraid. "Humans learned something different," Elder Ju continued. "We learned that the strongest pack is not the one with the biggest teeth. It is the one where everyone chooses to fight together." Captain Sunmi Bayek walked into the room at that moment. She was the captain of a human exploration ship. Behind her walked a small gray cat with green eyes. "Sorry to interrupt," Captain Bayek said. "I heard we had visitors who wanted to learn about human companions." The cat, whose name was Luna, looked around the room with typical cat independence. She was not as openly friendly as Max, but there was something graceful and alert about her. Scout Prime Krathan, the youngest Krathan warrior, stared at the cat. "Another one?" "Luna has been with me for 6 years," Captain Beck explained. "She helps me stay calm during long space flights. Cats are very good at sensing when something is wrong with a ship or when people are getting too stressed." Luna walked over to Max and sniffed him carefully. The dog opened one eye, saw the cat, and went back to sleep. They clearly knew each other and were comfortable together. "They do not fight?" bioanalyst Thekmore asked. "Dogs and cats can be friends if they grow up together," So-Young explained. "Many human families have both." Elder Ju watched the Krathan faces carefully. He could see that they were beginning to understand something important. "Let me tell you a story," the old man said. "Long ago, when humans were still learning to make fire, we met the first dogs. They were wolves then, wild and dangerous. We could have tried to kill them or drive them away. That would have been the logical choice," Veltar agreed. "But some humans made a different choice," Elder Ju continued. "They shared their food with the wolves. They let the wolves sleep near their fires. Slowly, over many generations, the wolves became dogs." "Why would you share food with predators?" Krathan asked. "Because they helped us hunt," Elder Ju said. "Because they warned us when enemies were coming. Because they kept us warm on cold nights. The humans who made friends with wolves survived better than the humans who tried to live alone." Sub-Commander Krathan was beginning to understand. So you became stronger by making friends with other species? Exactly, Elder Jew said. And then we did it again with cats who helped us control pests, and with horses who carried us farther than we could walk, and with dolphins who helped us fish in the deep ocean. But this is impossible, Nixval protested. You cannot control that many different species. We do not control them, Captain Back said firmly. They choose to help us because we help them too. It is partnership, not slavery. The door opened again, and more people came in. There was Dr. Yunji Nam, a veterinarian who took care of sick and injured animals. She had brought a small bird with colorful feathers that sat on her shoulder. This is Kiwi, Dr. Nam said. She helps me find animals that are hurt or lost in the wild. Birds can see things from high up that we cannot see from the ground. The Krathan were overwhelmed. Everywhere they looked, humans had animal partners. Each partnership was different, but all of them were based on choice and mutual benefit. How many? Veltar asked weakly. How many species do you have partnerships with? On Earth, we have domestic relationships with over 300 species, Elder Jew said. In space, we have made friends with aliens from 12 different worlds. 12 worlds, Strike Leader Mordak repeated in a whisper. The Rigelians love our music, Captain Bayek said. We teach them human songs and they share their crystal technology with us. The Deneb traders always want to buy our art because they think human creativity is fascinating. You turn enemies into friends, Krathan said. It was not a question. He finally understood. It is what we do best, So Young agreed. We meet someone new, and we try to find ways to help each other. Commander Veltar stood up slowly. He looked around the room at all the humans and their animal companions. Max was still sleeping peacefully, unaware that he had changed the course of galactic politics. We came here to assess whether humans were a military threat, Veltar said. We have learned something much more important. What is that? Elder Jew asked. You are not conquerors, Veltar said. You are something far more dangerous. You are friends. Any species that can convince predators to become protectors, that can turn enemies into family. Such a species cannot be defeated through war. Then what will you tell your empire? Captain Kim asked. Veltar looked at his fellow warriors. They all nodded in agreement. We will tell them that humans must be approached as potential allies, not enemies, because the alternative is not defeat in battle. The alternative is that you will make friends with our enemies and our allies until we are alone in the galaxy. And no one survives alone for long. Nixval added quietly. Elder Jew smiled. Would you like to learn more about how partnerships work? We have a lot to teach each other. As the Krathan warriors nodded their agreement, Max opened his eyes and yawned. He looked around the room at all the humans and aliens talking peacefully. Together, wagged his tail once and went back to sleep. Just another day of changing the galaxy, one friendship at a time.